significant flooding that I can see. Now, in western Jefferson Parish, there is a flash flood emergency. Also, eastern Calcasieu, they're in a flash flood emergency. 4 to 10 inches of rain, and I want to bring in Jim Cantor to talk about the rain totals. Jim, we're just starting to get some in. We got a report here. I wrote it down to make sure I have it right. 16.5 inches. The Calcasieu police jury there, just east of Lake Charles. They said that was on a rain gauge. And I believe that because in Lake Charles, they're still getting rain, Jim. I don't know if you've heard these numbers yet. 9.07 so far in Lake Charles. And so it wouldn't be out of the question to have that 16.5 just east of Lake Charles, since the flash flood emergency is 4 to 10, another 2 to 6 could fall.
We got to buy into that, Stefan, and I would, but that's a lot of rainfall, no question about it. We've certainly got flash flooding all over the place, which is now expanding up toward Alexandria. We're still gusting here. Very different. It's not like this persistent wind out of one direction. I mean, the wind literally comes and goes. It swirls around here through Breaux Bridge and then moves on. All right. Sometimes we'll get a little splits of rain, but otherwise, it's really like leaf debris, tons of leaf debris just kind of coming down the road here. I don't know what's going on here, guys, but we had about 7 police cars just race by us here, which is up toward the interstate there. Not really sure what's going on. Hopefully we'll find out. Hopefully it's nothing super serious. But, when 7 cars go rolling by you and a fire truck, it can't be good. We got word of a friend of mine who's actually here working with us that the old house he grew up in had a huge oak tree fall on it. So there are, gusts up here, 60, 70 miles an hour, that are taking down, trees. And it's the, the type of kind of just this pushing and building of the wind, Steph, that we're worried about. That certainly could continue tonight. And I'm really surprised, certainly even as dry as we are, a lot of this wind energy continues tonight. I want to bring in our hurricane expert. To see some of the strongest gusts on the west side of this.
Well, Jim, this has always been a symmetric kind of system, kind of surprisingly in some ways, but when you got a large hurricane like this, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of one-sidedness, but in terms of one-sidedness, though, isn't it interesting how it has been kind of front-loaded because of the wind shear today? Right. That shear has kind of pushed a lot of the weather kind of upstream, and since it's kind of doing that in the same direction, both northwest and northeast, then I think that kind of evens the playing field for what the north half of the hurricane looks like.
Yeah, and that certainly makes sense. As you know, Dr. Dad, they're all different. And they all present learning situations for all of us, to kind of, now I see that. Sometimes in post, you go in and you certainly see things like that. Guys, just to recap with you, if you're just joining us this evening, we know a lot of viewers certainly come and go. Landfall, 6 o'clock near Creole. We've had winds in Lake Charles, sadly, at 95 miles an hour, many sustained winds over 60. We heard from Charles Peak earlier. He has seen tarps ripped off of people's roofs, thousands of tarps obviously there as they wait for shingles and wait for a repaired roof, which because of COVID is not happening. If you don't make the shingles, you can't put the shingles on the roof, right? And that's really one of the big issues there. And I'm wondering, certainly a lot of people that may have said, all right, well, I'm getting my roof maybe in 2 weeks. Let's start the inside project. Let's start fixing the inside where their tarp was over the roof, and now because of this, maybe missing it or maybe loosened, and may have, certainly put the house again in harm's way by getting water back inside, because we've had almost 10 inches of rain in Lake Charles, for goodness sake, on the western side of this. So incredible. Still very, very breezy, windy. We haven't had any persistent rain here in Breaux Bridge for hours, but we can hear the wind certainly howling through. We lost power about an hour after landfall, about 7 o'clock local time here in Breaux Bridge. But we really got what I think we were expecting here. A little surprising, like I was talking about with Dr. Knapp, certainly on the western side of this, and we're not done. Steph was talking earlier about how the pressure was still going down where she is. Do you think the actual center of this is by Jennings, or is it just kind of this elongated, low-pressure blob at this point?
I mean, that's the thing. It really is western Mississippi from a lot of really gusty winds. And I wanted to highlight again what has happened storm surge-wise. We had the forecast from the Hurricane Center of 7 to 11 feet above normally dry ground there along the central portions of the Louisiana coastline, and that definitely seems to have happened. Now, Right now, we can't get observations from the freshwater canal locks because communications went down and that isn't reporting anymore. However, we do know that earlier it got above 8 feet, highest that gauge has ever reported in terms of storm surge, higher than what it got in Ike. And higher than what it got in Laura. So every storm is different, isn't it? Calcasieu Pass got to 5.5 feet above normally dry ground. Now, when you look at where this all happened relative to what happened in Laura, remember that we had the landfall of the center at Calcasieu Pass. But in this particular case, we had the landfall of Delta at the same place where this 17-foot storm surge flooding was reported in Laura, where the radius of maximum winds was. So Delta came in farther to the east, and that created storm surge that was higher to the east as compared to where the highest storm surge was in Laura. And of course, this is a weaker system, so the peak surge isn't as high, but I think we're gonna get something near 10 feet. But out to the east, way out to the east, 50 miles away from the circulation center, we got over 8 feet. And I think somewhere between Grand Chenier and the landfall location of Creole, we got probably something near 10 feet. And part of the reason why we got as much storm surge flooding as we did is that low tide was earlier in the afternoon, and we're headed into high tide, so we're kind of between low and high tide when all that happened. So it's a significant storm surge. And as the winds come inland, we're gonna get a lot of power outages, but in the meantime, all that wind going inland is going in with a lot of rain, where we've had over a foot of rain just east of Lake Charles, and where our Justin Michaels is in Lake Charles, we've got the flash flood emergency. This is a really significant event. It's a little different than Laura. Not as much wind, but maybe a little more rain-induced flooding, Justin.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that's a big concern, Dr. Nab, as people will eventually be coming back here over the next probably 24 hours. I would imagine tomorrow morning people are going to wake up and say, we're going back, because of how much progress they were trying to make over the last 43 days since Laura. Now Delta probably wiping a lot of that away. I hope I'm wrong, but we're going to get into the city tomorrow and start talking to people about what they're seeing. Let me show you a little bit of improvement. Let's find the silver linings where we can, right? We are getting better and better visibility. Take a look at all the refineries across the Calcasieu River. We can now see them. Earlier today, it was a complete whiteout. So we're getting a little bit better visibility, but the winds are still strong. The rain is still coming down. Let's get on the phone right now and actually talk to Charles Peak. Charles, I know we probably have some video images coming from your camera. Tell me, Charles, people have reached out to me on social media asking about some of your images about water on the roads. How deep is the water that you've seen? I know you're not driving through it or walking through it, but how any way to gauge what you're seeing?
Yeah, Justin, in quite a few areas, you've got water on the roads as deep as 2 foot, 2.5 foot. I would say more broadly about a foot deep or so, but in the low-lying areas, I was a little surprised that you did have it that deep. But fortunately, Justin, I mean, there's almost nobody on the roads except me, so that's a good thing, as bad as that is. People aren't out here that accidentally driving into something that can get themselves in trouble.
That is good news, Charles. Now tell me, as you're moving around, I've seen images coming in from our Robert Ray. He's been out storytelling this afternoon. We see the blue tarps flapping in the wind. I know you've seen that and documented that. What are you seeing? Because people have in their minds about what their houses were like after Laura, any progress they may have made, and wondering, did it all get wiped away? What are you seeing on the ground as you move around?
Justin, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. In some of them, the tarps were completely ripped off, is what I saw. In other cases, they were completely intact. So I would say more of them intact than not. At least that's what I saw before it got dark, when it's harder to see. In the last few hours, we've had it get stronger and more sheet metal blowing around and those types of things, as we've had some strong gusts. But the good thing, like you were just talking about, Justin, the rain is letting up. The winds aren't quite as strong as we had earlier, although there's still some strong gusts. But things look like they're going to be improving over the next few hours.
Well, and Charles, you brought that up, that metal blowing around. I know you've been driving around here for days. We were out the last couple days driving around. Those enormous piles of debris left over from Laura, even though the city did yeoman's work cleaning it up, 1.5 million cubic yards cleaned up over the last 6 weeks. There was still so much more to do. Are you seeing that debris spread across Lake Charles?
Yes, sir, and some of it, but it's been the lighter. I was honestly, and we talked about it, I was worried about those tree limbs and stuff becoming projectiles, and very little of that I see. It's been more of the sheet metal, the lighter things, even with those stronger winds. So in that particular situation, from what I've seen, it's been better than what we were fearing.
Oh, thank goodness for that. All right, Charles Peak, please, please, please be safe as you cruise around. These are still dangerous conditions, folks. Charles is out in them to document them, but he is doing everything he can for his safety, as we all are here on the Weather Channel. Our team of 4 people, Mark Whaley, Daniel Lapham, and also Steve Dresner, they are staying safe. I am staying safe. We all go in. Safety is key. Make sure you're making good decisions, especially when you come back. The Weather Channel is coming back live right after this.
Tuck, you want to walk?
Come on, Tucker, let's go.
Tuck, wanna walk, boy?
Tucker, you want to go out?
When the whole family needs an excuse to get out, Nutro's Clean Recipe will help your dog keep up.
I'm not hungry!
You're having one more bite.
No!
One more bite.
Kraft for the win-win. Welcome to the Quaker Breakfast Table, where new normals are created and where you watch them grow up. Here, simple whole grains are easy, so grab life by the spoon or cup. Quaker Oats.
Domino's knows a thing or two about delivery. When we saw people were getting tacos and